All right, let's get right into it. We've got a huge mystery on our hands, something that's got the financial world completely baffled. Gold, right? The ultimate safe haven asset. But it's absolutely plummeting. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden war behind this crazy collapse. I mean, just think about it for a second. The world is, well, it's chaotic. We've got global uncertainty through the roof, threats of a huge war brewing in the Middle East. Everything, and I mean everything, says gold should be skyrocketing. But it's not. It's taking a nosedive. So what on earth is actually going on here? Look at this list. It's basically the perfect recipe for a gold rally. You've got skyrocketing uncertainty, war threats, inflation fears, massive government debt. I mean, come on. Historically, any one of these would have people scrambling for gold. But all of them together? And gold is falling? Yeah, that just doesn't add up. It defies all logic, which tells me there's something else going on here, something much, much deeper. Okay, so what's the official narrative? What are we being told? Well, the common explanation is that gold is dropping because the central banks are finally going to get tough. They're going to raise interest rates to kill inflation. But does that story really hold water when you look at the facts? Let's dig in. And right here, this is the massive disconnect. On one hand, you have the public message from the central bankers. They're all tough talk, right? We will tighten monetary policy. But then you look at the actual economic reality, the hard data, and it tells a completely different story. They can't tighten, not without crashing an already weak economy. They're basically caught in a trap. And this is exactly why their hands are tied. It's a bluff. I mean, look around the globe. Europe, they're facing a nasty supply shock and their economy's already sputtering. Hiking rates there would be disastrous. The U.S., the job market's cooling off fast. Raise rates now and you'd absolutely hammer it. And then there's China. They're not even pretending to tighten. They're actively pumping money into their system just to keep it from collapsing. The world's biggest economies are just way too fragile for this. And then there's this, $40 trillion. That's the projected U.S. national debt. Now, just think about that for a second. With that much debt on the books, you literally cannot raise interest rates in any meaningful way. Why? Because the interest payments alone would become so massive they'd completely blow up the federal budget. It's not a political opinion, it's just math. It's a mathematical impossibility. So what's the takeaway here? It's pretty clear. The central bank story is a bluff. They have to keep the money printer going no matter what they say in public. And that means the drop in gold isn't some big signal about future interest rate policy. The reason lies somewhere else entirely. We have to find a different culprit. Okay, so if it's not a strategic policy move, then what is it? The next clue, and it's a big one, is in how the gold is being sold. The nature of the selling itself tells a story. And it's pointing us toward a completely different kind of seller, one with a very different motivation. And when you look at the trading data, that's exactly what you see. This isn't some careful, methodical rebalancing of a portfolio. No way. This is what you call aggressive selling. It's almost panicked, just dumping massive amounts of gold on the market, not caring about the price you get. Now, who does that? Not a strategist. That's the move of someone who is desperate for cash, like right now. And this, right here, is where the story takes a turn. Our financial mystery, it suddenly becomes a geopolitical thriller. Because that kind of desperation for cash doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It was triggered. It was triggered by one very specific, very explosive event. Just look at this timeline. The timing is so precise, it's almost scary. We're talking February 28th. At 4 a.m., the bombing starts in Iran. 30 minutes later, the price of oil shoots through the roof. And then, just a half hour after that, gold starts its freefall. You guys, these are not coincidences. You can draw a straight line between these events. They're absolutely 100% connected. So, who was selling? Who was so desperate for cash all of a sudden? Well, all the evidence points in one direction: the central banks and the huge sovereign wealth funds in the Gulf states. Think about it. A war literally erupts on their doorstep. That creates an instant, massive liquidity crisis. They need cash, and they need it fast. So what do? They're forced to sell one of their crown jewels, their gold, just to keep the lights on. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it all. It pulls everything into focus. This isn't really a war against Iran. That's just the stage. The conflict in the Middle East is the theater for a much, much bigger struggle. The real target isn't Tehran. The real fight, the hidden war,
is between the United States and its biggest rival, China.
So that raises the big question, right? What's the end game here? What is the ultimate strategic objective? I mean, why would anyone intentionally provoke a conflict in the most volatile energy region on the planet? It's got to be about more than just spiking oil prices for a few months. It's about something bigger. It's about control.
And this is the grand strategy. It's a multi-step playbook. Step 1, you kickstart a conflict in the Middle East. That gives you the justification for step 2, seizing control of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that's one of the most critical energy choke points in the entire world. Once you have that, you move to step 3. You now have leverage over the world's energy supply, which leads you to the final move, step 4. You use that leverage to put the squeeze on your main economic and geopolitical rival, China.
And that brings us full circle right back to gold. So if this whole geopolitical analysis is right, then what does it mean for the price of gold? It means this crazy drop isn't about gold's fundamental value. Not at all. It's a temporary fire sale. It's a short-term anomaly driven by this crisis. It's what people in finance call a liquidity event, a forced sell-off because someone desperately needed cash. It's not a long-term trend. It's just collateral damage in this bigger shadow war between the U.S. and China. So that leaves us with a pretty sobering final thought, doesn't it? This whole thing, it's probably not the end of the story. It feels a lot more like the opening move. Because if the real fight, the main event, is between the US and China, and the weapon of choice is control over the world's energy, it makes you wonder, what's the next move on this global chessboard?